Okay, welcome back to Two Homers and a Realist. We've got 4 people, as usual. It's becoming the usual and really matches up with the name of the pod. But neither does the Realist or the Homers, I don't think, at this point. So let's start it off with...
Lucas.
Steve.
Connor.
Jay.
All right. So we've just returned. This is following the Kansas State game. Sooners are... Check me on that. What is the Sooners? What's the OU record?
They are 5-0.
5-0. 5-0. Undefeated. One of the only... How many undefeated teams are there in America right now?
Is there 12?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like 12?
12,
yeah.
give or take?
Yeah, and how many are better than OU? None.
0.
None. Not
Not
any of them.
17.
Well, let's jump right in then and decide. Let's start with Jay. Jay, are you optimistic or pessimistic following yesterday's performance by the Sooners, winning in Kansas State in odd fashion, in a tougher, closer than any of us predicted game, sort of, by the score? Are you optimistic or pessimistic?
I'm actually more optimistic this week.
All right.
The offensive line seemed to change up some things. They rolled Rattler out more. The offense was much more in sync. I think we left a lot of points, not off the field, but the defense could have gotten off the field, which really would have made the game not as close as it looked.
Yeah, that was frustrating.
What do you mean
So,
as
yeah.
close as it looked?
So
It was
optimistic.
close. They were kicking
Okay,
onside
but it
and
really
trying-
wasn't that close. I mean,
No, we'll
It
get into that. I
was
think
not.
he's right.
It
It
was
wasn't.
it
It
not.
was,
wasn't.
Exactly.
but it
It
shouldn't
wasn't,
have
it
been.
wasn't.
Easy interceptions missed,
He's 100% right.
botch snap at the 1-yard line.
Personal foul on the field goal that cost us 15 yards.
Yes, we had a
on
lot
the
of
kickoff.
mental errors yesterday that kept them in the game.
Yeah, we should
And
probably check on seeing if Tyrese Robinson's actually alive after the shooting.
Oh, I think
he
I saw
got
the end of
on
the portal.
sideline.
No.
So, Connor, optimistic or pessimistic?
Super optimistic. A lot of what we saw yesterday was silly, stupid mistakes that I don't think necessarily go back to the miscues in coaching and talent that we've seen over the past 4 weeks, especially between Nebraska and West Virginia. So super, super optimistic. I think going into Texas, you're on an upswing. So I think if we can continue that momentum, get right on defense, and like Jay said, I really don't think it was as close as what the score indicated. But we can dive into that a little bit more.
All right, I'm optimistic. I'm much more optimistic. I think we made a big step. The step I was hoping we would make at the West Virginia game, I felt like we actually made yesterday. Disappointed that it took that point in the season. Disappointed that we needed the step to even be there. So I'm optimistic, but I am disappointed. I almost was going to say pissed, but I don't know if that's a legitimate emotion to
I think
have.
it's good though. No, I think pissed is probably pissed and disappointed are very different. I think
Yeah.
I'm kind of pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you were
and I'm
pissed
pissed
at the end
for
of the
them.
game.
I'm not just pissed in them. I'm pissed for them.
Right.
And that's both coaches and players to varying degrees. I get back to where I thought we were going to be. I think most fans thought we were going to be entering the season. I think most of us thought on a scale of 0 to 100, where 100 is absolute perfection, we were told and we had reason to believe we would be at maybe a 75. And I think that was a reasonable expectation, and we weren't. We were maybe at a 60. And then it kind of just stagnated there and maybe was even a little bit lower. Now we're getting that step to where I think we're at about a 75% of where we could be towards perfection. And you're hoping that by the end of the season, if you're playing the best football you can reasonably be expected to play, you're at 90 to 95. That's going to be hard to get there, but at least we're taking a big step, and I think we moved along that scale nicely, even with the big problems that we'll get to that I think are concerning. And so we definitely could regress from here. Lucas?
I want to point out that all 4 of us went to the game in Manhattan.
That's right.
I don't
We
think
did. We were
even
there.
mentioned that.
Road crew, baby.
So all 4 of us were in the east side upper deck.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
Best,
great venue.
Best seats in the house.
Was awesome.
Great venue. We'll talk about the venue in a minute. And great people. So that was very interesting. I'm going to interrupt you real quick before we forget. Let's talk about the people at K-State, the fans, and let's talk the good, the bad, and the ugly. But go ahead with your optimism, pessimism.
I'm at the same point I was last week. I'm not any more optimistic than I was. I'm not more pessimistic. I feel like after the game last week, going into this game, we played exactly like I thought we would. I think I predicted 27-17, so I had a 10-point win. We won by 6. Probably should have been a 13-point win because of the kickoff return for touchdown. But I don't feel like we played any better than I thought we would, and I don't think we played any worse than I thought we would.
So you had reasonably high expectations then, because our offense played
I mean, I had us
pretty
27
well,
to
and
17.
the defense played really well, aside from a few minor blips. Defense continues to really impress me. I think that's obviously the brightest part of the entire team. But the offense, to me, was much better than they were.
We were better because I think we used tempo this time, which
And simplicity.
It sounded like somebody was listening to our podcast because they decided to.
Oh, they definitely were.
They decided to
definitely did dial
go
in.
up to the ball at the line of scrimmage after a gain and stand there and not substitute just one receiver for one receiver and give Kansas State a chance to sub.
Yep.
It happened a little bit when they were changing to like a jumbo package and bring in a fullback and a tight end, but most of the time it seemed like
Which they
if
still bring in really weird situations.
Yeah,
If
they
they
bring it in
brought
their heaviest.
Yeah, there's some weird choices being made there, and I agree. The tempo, they did a better
they
job
were
of
snapping
when to snap the
super
ball.
fast, but they were at least not
Yeah.
allowing them to sub.
They were snapping it relatively super fast when they needed
in
to
the
be
fourth
draining
quarter,
clock.
right?
That's
Snapping
another
it at
different
10 instead
problem.
of 3.
But then again, K-State took 7 minutes to what could have been a 4-minute drive
It
to
was a
score,
5.5-minute drive.
and gave up their chances. Yeah, well, I'm just
Yeah.
estimating, or just being a little exaggerating. But yeah, they took. If I were a K-State fan, I'd be very, very angry at what the coaching decisions there at the end of the game. Kind of quitting the way most of the fans quit on them and left way too early when that was still a ball game, and we knew it was still a ball game. What were we up? 17 points?
Yeah, it was
17
34 to
points.
17.
Yeah.
8 minutes,
And
8
people were
something
leaving the
left.
stadium.
Yeah.
And I
And
was,
people
I
were
was
leaving
saying,
the
I can't
stadium.
believe you guys are leaving.
Yeah, I mean, even not to just be derisive, like, oh, you haven't seen us give away a game, like when you took one from us last year, but just in general, 17 points with most of the fourth
There's
quarter
9.5
left.
minutes
Guys,
left.
a lot can happen, and a lot did. So on the fans, real quick, just to close that loop, maybe I was very impressed by the fans outside of the stadium. Most everyone we encountered was really nice, like super friendly, super nice. In the stadium, some of their chants, they get a little obnoxious when they get together. I guess any fan does. Some of their chants,
K-State
FOU.
first down.
Yeah, the whole K-State first down thing.
I
They
mean,
need
it's
to drop
sad when you're
that
celebrating
nonsense.
every single first down.
It's very awkward to celebrate every first down.
I knew it in the 90s, in 1996, when I first went to a game there. I understood it because they were just getting off of being literally the losingest team in college football. You guys have won a lot since then. You need to stop celebrating
They
first
have
downs.
2 Big 12 championships in the last 20 years.
It's sad. And they should have had more. They should have probably played for the national title in 98. Yeah, it's sad. So,
They've got more Big 12 titles than, I think, Oklahoma State, right?
let me
yeah, I
count.
believe so.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
They might be tied for
I
third.
think they
I
are.
think they are.
Yeah. With
Interesting.
2 other schools, yeah. So, anyway, I thought some of their chants were kind of rude. They definitely, they didn't, we'll get to the referee review. They're going to have a different take on the referee review, I think, than we're going to have. But let's talk about more about just the overall game impression and players and positions. For me, I'll start it out and jump right into including this with the quarterback evaluation. I thought Rattler played much, much better. And I think that to me, I was at 70-30. My blame on the offense was, as far as players on the field, 70% offensive line, 30% quarterback last week. And that doesn't mean I'm putting it all on the players, because I would say the coaches are at least responsible for half of that. But I would say now it's maybe like 90% offensive line and 10% quarterback. I think he's gotten better, and it's clear to me the offensive line has significant problems. And there I go back. Now I'm assigning most of that blame mostly to coaches and somewhat to players, even though some of these players are making some really silly decisions or mistakes.
I think that's a fair
Yeah.
percentage. I think 90-10 is pretty good.
Yeah. Otherwise, I was back to my disappointment. Just disappointed at. It's hard to get away from how the game ended. I was super stressed. My stress level. I mean, the whole game was stressful, and I was fairly optimistic we were going to win because I felt like we were looking better. I was disappointed that we weren't pulling away more than we were. And you're right when you say, Lucas, how close it could have been. And it could have, or should have been, not as close.
Right.
It could have been even more than that. It could have been locked down close to the middle of the third quarter, and we're pulling away, and we weren't able to do it. I mean, shoot, it could have been a better first half, obviously. I think we were on the verge, and that's what I'm optimistic about. I see us on the verge of doing really good things. And then we end that game in a way that just tries to lose it. Between a penalty, I think you brought it up, Jay, by Tyrese Robinson on hitting a guy? What did he do? Punch
On the field
him
goal.
after the field goal?
Yeah, so I think it's just extracurricular stuff. I
Yeah.
think came up into him and kind of just shoved him up into his face.
And you take a routine kickoff, and now you're kicking from the 20-yard line, and then Lincoln Riley does the Lincoln Riley thing. And his one thing that will haunt his coaching career, I think, will be risk-reward decision-making, and a lot of it's special teams related. Why you just do a plain vanilla kick deep, unless that wasn't the call, and I don't know, you don't usually mistakenly kick it deep, and Burkick's a really good kicker, so I don't see him doing that by mistake. I watched them have a conversation in depth before he goes out to kick that ball off, so I got to think that was totally deliberate. We're screaming, don't out-kick your coverage, and he did exactly that. He gave the guy the ball in a position to run it back. He does, and they're an onside kick away from probably, I think all of us feel like having a really good shot at winning the game.
Oh, yeah,
if they get that.
I do. I think we lose. They get the onside kick.
And then on the onside kick, he again does the Lincoln Riley thing of not putting a guy deep, and then they do kick it, and they're kicking it deep, and Stoops jumps out and catches
That was
the
a
ball
squib kick.
miraculously, but a deep squib. And they're going to do the race to it, which
Stoops
is our
snacks it
designed
out,
offensive
snags it out,
line.
yeah.
Snacks out there, but he had called timeout. Then he puts Mims halfway deep, but it still runs up to the line
Yeah, he
on
runs
it.
right up the line
that
the last
made
second.
no sense.
I mean, like he's inducing it. You're just gambling. And if I'm a good kicker, and if I'm a coach telling that kicker, I'm going to say, look, here, I've seen what OU does. He's going to come towards the line to protect. He's going to bait you into kicking it short because there's an obvious or apparent big gap in OU's line, and he's going to fill it. When he starts running and you're running to the ball, you squib this deep, and we're running for it. And you tell all your players it's a race for it. And then they're going to get the ball at the 20-yard line.
It's like the XFL back when they didn't do the coin toss. They did
Right,
the two guys
right,
running after
running
the
for
ball,
it,
and
yeah.
whoever recovered. That's what it would have been like.
It would have been.
if he would just
It
kicked
would
it
have,
deep.
yeah.
Wow.
It was
And they would have had a head
anyway,
start running towards
Yeah,
us,
exactly.
and we
They're
would have all
already-
been running
we're on our
backwards.
It just shows you how
Exactly.
all of it can be for naught. The whole damn game, and maybe nearly the season, could have been down the drain with a few flubbed decisions. One of them by a player and a mistake made, and then a lot of them by coaches. There,
That's the maddest I've seen you in a long time.
I was
during a game.
furious.
He was furious.
I was so
when
mad.
he kicked it deep.
I was
He
sick at my stomach.
because after what happened, it was exactly what you thought would happen
Yeah.
if he kicked it that.
It was
if he kicked it
exactly the
deep.
risk return I was thinking. But anyway, I don't want to make that the whole game, but that became the dominant thing in my mind for the game, at least after it. It took.
And
me
I
a
don't know
while.
if the numbers bear this out, but it seems like when a team is in that situation and there's a penalty and they're backed up, it seems like the kickoff return for a touchdown rate goes
it's like
exponentially higher.
triple. It's
It makes no
unbelievable.
sense.
But the only thing that does make sense is the fact that you got all that
Other
field
than-
to work with.
I know, but if we went back and looked at it, did you really kick your coverage? Like, did he kick it 10 yards further than normal? Like, would that have
He
gone
kicked it
out of the
deep.
back
I
of
think
the
he
end
caught
zone?
the ball
caught
at
it
the
on
15-yard line.
I think he caught on the 15, but he was 15 yards back. So literally, it would be the same as
So
kicking
he's
it to
catching
the goal
it
line.
at the goal line, right? So
Right.
it wasn't like he kicked it. He would have kicked it out of the back of the end
Right.
zone.
But you still have
so
more.
it still would have been returnable.
Yes.
So you wonder, do the angles, do the lanes change that much?
I bet they
because
do
you're backed up.
because there's more field to cover. Even though there's not as I know what you're saying.
Still
but
just 100
he's-
yards, and it's still 50 yards
But
wide.
no,
though.
but it's like a funnel, and so now the funnel is longer, and so it makes it effectively. There's more yardage
it's
to
geometry.
cover. Back, it is geometry.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it's more topology.
Is it the Pythagorean theorem?
No,
Is that,
I
no?
can't believe you bring that up after all we've been through. No, I just it is funny. That is so true. It'd be funny to go back and run the stats. Maybe it's just emotional, and you think
it
it
is
does.
because it's just your team probably, and you're just
Right.
figures, of course.
Speaking of that, and I'm dominating this, but let me get your perspective on this. So we talked about on the way home, Connor and I, because we drove separately. We went up Friday. You guys chose to go up Saturday and come home Sunday. Interesting
Yeah,
choices.
we're more intelligent.
Yeah, I don't know.
What time did you get home
So,
last night?
Early enough.
Yeah. It was
Midnight or
about,
1?
Nah, about 7.
Got about as much sleep as I
1 in the
usually do.
morning.
1 in the morning? Ouch.
So, what time did you get up yesterday?
5:30.
He got up at 3.
I got up like 3.
So, yeah.
That's just I can't sleep. So
That's disgusting.
So we slept in
That wasn't
until
because
7.
we were leaving, though. Like, I mean, he gets
I
up
sent
that
him
early
I sent him a text
most
at like
days.
4:30, and I was like, "Hey, if
If
you
you
happen
ever
to be
send
up,
me a text at 4:30, you better be dying.
if you happen to be up, I'm cool with leaving a little early." But I didn't
Well,
get a text
speaking of
back
emotions,
until about 5:30. So
It's funny how we see an opponent, K-State yesterday, completes a a pass that we feel like shouldn't be open. They complete a pass to pick up, what was it, a 4th and 12, and then they almost pick up a 4th and 14.
They
But
were
there's
4
all
for
of
4 on
these
4th downs at the beginning.
at the beginning, yeah. But I'm getting at, like, we can't. It's funny how you never can cover people 100%. They're never going to pass for 0 yards on you. And we have a few, like, we'll hit Mims over the middle and he's wide open. And that's just like routine for us. We just expect, we should be open and we should catch it. Whereas if we're the other fans, we say, why can't you cover that guy? They're doing it over and over to you. So perspective is a funny thing. More about players and positions in quarterback, and specifically Rattler, if he'll be a Heisman finalist. I still am in the no camp. But what are your perspectives on all of it?
I'm trying to think of like specific positions, and nothing stands out. I don't remember anybody being great on defense.
Kennedy Brooks had a great day.
I don't feel like we got a good
Kennedy
push.
Brooks had a very good day.
As usual.
Which speaks.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it speaks a little bit to where the offensive line maybe was, and hopefully is getting to. I mean, I think we simplified a lot up front. I'm not saying we were better up front. I'm not saying we fixed everything, but there were lanes, and I do agree, Jay. Like you said, as usual, Kennedy Brooks is good. Kennedy Brooks knows how to shed tackles and can get past the line if he gets hit. But there was some stuff open. I mean, God, we go back to West Virginia. You couldn't have fit, what's his face from Kansas State, their running back, Deuce.
Yeah.
Vaughn. He couldn't be fitting through the holes there. I mean, it was terrible. Like nothing was open up. Given we ran the ball 12 times or something like that against West Virginia.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Our running game looked better, which I hope is speaking a little bit towards where the offensive line is.
I mean, it was a 3-man front the whole game. I hope our run
Also
game
true.
could.
Yeah, they had 3 high safeties the entire game.
Yeah.
Gets back to play calling. Why are we not running the ball just more, just in
Yeah.
general? It seemed kind of obvious to me. They're daring you to do it. I don't know. Maybe this is a completely false perspective, and this is just a bias I have. But it's like if you dare Riley to do something, he will so do the opposite. He just won't, refusal to take the bait. Just trying to not give in to whatever you're trying to do to him, overthinking it or something.
Yep.
And just don't worry about being gimmicky. Just do what is in front of you.
We only had, 120 something rushing yards.
Yeah, but
And
there
if
were a
you have
couple
a-
big losses.
If you're going
131.
against if you're
How
going
much
against
did
a 3-man
Brooks have?
line and 3 deep
94,
safeties,
91 yards.
you should probably have significantly more rushing
15
yards.
carries.
Yeah.
I would think so. Yeah,
I don't. After the West Virginia
but
game,
yards per rush were really high.
after the West Virginia game, we came back and it was 3-man front again. But everybody was like, "Oh, those guys are going to play in the NFL," so they were getting pressure and all this stuff. Well, Kansas State doesn't have 3 offensive linemen that are going to the NFL.
Defensive line.
I mean, defensive linemen going to the NFL, and yet Rattler was still under pressure. Rattler still got sacked. How can we not have 5 guys blocking 3 and they still get pressure? It makes no sense to me.
Andrew Rand played horrific.
They weren't even bringing linebackers as the 4th.
Well,
it was literally
yeah.
3 guys rushing against 5 offensive linemen and
And
getting
sometimes
to Rattler.
not like overpowering him, like no resistance.
Just
like I could have gotten to Rattler
missing
because
guys.
no one's even looking at me.
So that would be my position. There you go. Rame had a horrible game, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah.
He let too many guys past him. I mean, they say the center's the quarterback, the offensive line. We had Eichard was awesome. Darlington was awesome. I mean,
Creed.
was awesome. It's just one.
So he's got big
we've
shoes
had-
to fill.
Yeah.
But
It's been. I just don't understand. I mean, he's young, but I don't feel even against Tulane, it didn't seem like it was as bad as it's been the last couple games. So do we need to go back to Congo?
But that's what's frustrating too is you look back, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday on the walk back, was, we're plugging and playing with all these guys. We're taking people off the defensive line, trying them out on offensive line, vice versa.
We've done that forever. Though.
I know, but still, at some point, just stick to it. Like if these guys aren't able to plug and play, then don't do it. Like Rain, like you said, played at guard a lot last year, right? Or
Yeah, Rame played guard a lot.
Yeah, and he played
Was
guard in
some
high- he
backup
played guard- he played
center,
guard in high
but
school
Creed
as
never
well,
came
right?
out.
yeah.
I guess you want to get him game experience, but still, like, why? The kid's going to be our center. Let's put him behind the center. If he never plays, then at least he's getting snaps in practice or whatever else.
Jay said Murray played center at UCLA.
Murray was the center at UCLA, and he's got short arms apparently, which is not good for guard and tackle positions.
So why is he not playing center?
And Robinson obviously played right guard for us for 2 seasons.
Right. We just don't have an answer at right tackle because
our
the
right
last
tackles.
3 classes of offensive linemen have just nobody's turned out.
Played an egg.
So my worry is we don't have answers because we, as a coaching staff, and especially Beatonbow, which why isn't it pronounced Beatonball, by the way? That for some reason they are trying to do things. It's like they're trying to squeeze the square peg into the round hole over and over and over. Some of it's through wanting these guys to be in these positions for some reason, thinking, no, this is the position this guy's supposed to be playing, even though every piece of evidence would tell you something different. And then trying to do such overly complex things with them. Just go to the simple stuff and then work in as you go through the season. But we shouldn't be having to get into 6 and 7 and 8 games into the season before our offensive line starts clicking. And when they do, they click really well.
It's been that way since Beatonbow's been here.
I know.
Yeah, that's
It
probably
seems like
one of my
going
biggest
into the
complaints.
Texas game, we're like, oh, hopefully we can play well. And then post-Texas game for the rest of the season. I mean, we won the Joe Moore Award.
And even
3
that
or
line
4
was
seasons
not
ago,
good
and it started this.
in the
They
front of
didn't
the season.
start the
even
season
that
great.
one. And even though those were, I mean, 100%
Which it's good that the coaches are.
All-Stars.
It's good that the coaches are developing throughout the season. That makes me feel good.
It should. It should. But you don't.
Also, if you have
don't
guys
start,
that are returning, you shouldn't start off so bad.
But makes you what happens in spring and fall.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can improve that much throughout the season, what's happening in the camp?
Yeah, what are we doing in camp?
Yeah,
exactly.
What's going on?
Well, nobody tackles anymore, so our tackling. We had horrible tackling yesterday. I mean,
Yeah.
it
The
seems like
tackling was bad.
The tackling was really bad.
Arm tackling.
Which those short guys like Vaughn, I mean, those guys are hard to tackle. But I mean, in my day in practice, people tackled. You know, old man theory.
Right.
And now it just seems like nobody tackles anymore.
My brother Mike brought
they
that
don't go
up.
full hard on.
Well, and they can't.
offensive,
A lot of
defensive
it.
line.
They can, or I don't know if they
NCAA
can't
regulations.
with the NCAA regulations. And so he had an interesting theory about that, thinking, well, is a possible exploit to that going back to running games where people have to tackle and you have to tackle big guys. If you just have an offense that's built primarily and dominantly on the rush, would most defenses have a very tough time because they've got to tackle and tackle soundly, and you're tackling big guys rather than trying to just clip a receiver or prevent the receiver from even getting the ball. When a guy's running with a full head of steam and you've got blockers, that's a lot different than trying to, one, complete a pass and then break for yards after contact. So
it does look
I
like
don't
this
know. There's a theory there.
season, more than any other that I can remember, our wide receivers aren't breaking tackles.
That's
Our
interesting.
yards after catch have got to
Probably
be
a
super low compared to most
Yeah, but
years under Riley.
everything's lower too, so it's probably a symptom of that. I mean, there could be something there just purely like you're saying, but I'd worry that it's being a little bit polluted by fewer passes in general, fewer completions downfield, fewer completions in space.
Yeah.
And so all of that's going to make it obviously look like the yards after contact are lower. They're going to make the yards after contact lower.
Yeah,
like
ball
you need more
placement.
trials, you need more attempts.
Ball placement can do that too.
Ball placement has a lot
If
to
you're
do
throwing
with
behind
it.
the guy, he can't just
Or,
catch it on the run.
yeah, just directly to us. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is something we talked about that multiple times.
We did
Not
look
getting
like
the ball
the-
out in front.
We looked like the Texas Tech offense under Mike Leach
Mm-hmm.
for the first half. It seemed like there was a lot of
was wild.
throwing as running plays.
Well, I
essentially.
think the answer
bubble
to-
screens to the wide receivers.
What would your guess be on why they're doing that? My guess would be they don't trust the offensive line and they got to get that ball out of there.
I don't blame them at
fast.
all. And we even talked about it ahead of time. We said, what's the answer to the running game? And me and Connor were like, maybe we need to go Texas Tech, run an up tempo, use those short passes as a running game just to stretch the field, and then maybe you can go
widen
back
the
to the
field,
running
too.
game later in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gray, I think only caught 2 passes. Gray needs 5 to 7 catches out in space every game.
Yeah,
2
that'd
for
be
17.
nice. You gotta be careful trying to do that,
Running
but-
that play action, that rollout to either the fullback, like we always
Yeah.
say, or even Gray if he can slip out. Oh my goodness! Like that's just it's.
I think there are a
dangerous.
lot of things you could do. It seems obvious to us, but what was it against West Virginia where we absolutely had to get a 4th down, and we did. We ran just a very dedicated passing play to in the backfield in a flat, out to the left to Gray, and it was. I mean, it's
He
not
picked up
easy.
like 35.
Yeah, he picked up like 35. He needed like 7. Had to get 7. It's 4th down, and I don't know. I like that as a bread and butter. At least when you have to have a play, and if they're giving you by how they're lining up with that deep set where they're taking away the deep ball, it just seems like something you should go to more and more.
Yeah.
Well, Deuce Vaughn caught about
Yeah.
10 passes out
Yes,
the
he
backfield.
did.
So
Yes, he did. Which another thing, so that gets to something Connor in particular pointed out. I think you guys were saying it too, that it seemed apparent to us pretty early in the game, and definitely late in the game, Skylar Thompson was not going to run. For risk of injury or
At all.
whatever, the coaching play was do not let this running quarterback run. and we never picked up on that. And I don't think he was not running because we were spying him. I think he was not running because he didn't want him to get hurt. And
No, he had
we
lanes.
kept respecting it.
It looked like he
too
could have picked up
much.
7-10 yards sometimes, and he just
Yeah.
refused.
So we could have been more aggressive, I think, and that would have changed it a little bit to put him in a position to have to make a play and not just sit back as a pocket passer. We sort of played into their hands a little too much, too long in the game defensively. So I'd blame the coaches a little bit on that.
Defensively, though, you can't lose their best player that many times.
Yeah,
Like,
it's gotta
I don't
be-
care what's going on, what
Deuce,
coverage you're
yeah.
in.
It's got to be a linebacker.
I mean,
thing,
somebody
too.
had to just
I mean,
completely bust several times.
Well, I mean, look how
Green
big.
said
Look,
after the game, he's like, we practiced this all week. We went over with these guys all week.
Yeah, that was
And
his
he
comment.
said, yeah, and then he said it didn't happen on the field,
Right.
but we did it all week.
Some guys care about practice, others don't.
well, think
And-
how many times we saw the middle of the field open, and like you just said, like Skylar Thompson had lanes. It wasn't even lanes; it was fields of space.
If he
And-
wasn't on lockdown to not be allowed to run,
Right.
he would have torched us
Oh,
running.
But like I said yesterday, the good thing is when he had that space even available, he still converted via some busted
Right.
coverage.
Yeah.
So hopefully that just alluding to Casey Thompson next week. I mean, we can't be giving up that much space in front of Casey Thompson, or he will murder us.
Well, and
with
you
his
can't
legs.
lose Bijan Robinson either.
Yeah.
He'll absolutely.
And I don't
kill
know, is Bijan good? Is Bijan a good receiver out of the
Yes.
backfield? Is he?
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun.
Yeah, that could be rough.
He goes on deep wheel routes too.
Yeah.
So
Linebackers better get their legs.
let's talk
rolling.
about the referees just real quick. I actually think the refs did a pretty good job yesterday. Outside of a few things, they definitely missed a few critical holding calls and critical downs right in front of the ref. They actually, I didn't see it, so I'm just going off of what numerous independent sources said, that Mims' bad block on the Kennedy Brooks completion
No,
near the
Jeremiah
end of the
Hall.
game, or Jeremiah
Yeah.
completion at the end of the game, which I love that play, by the way,
Yeah.
the little waggle out and you dump it off to him for the first down. That's going to set us up to end the game nicely. And then there's a bad block that supposedly wasn't a good call. But other than that, they got a lot of things right. They got it right on the reviews. They definitely got it right on the onside kick where the kicker had touched it twice. But, of course, it took Riley insisting that they review it and challenging
That should have
it.
been something they saw in
Should
the
have been
initial
something they saw.
replay. They only were looking to see if it went
They
10
had to
yards.
issue a statement about that, too, because
Yeah.
of the Kansas State problems with it. But that was correct. And what was the other
The fourth
major?
down
The fourth down
throw.
where the ball hit the
Yeah.
ground. I think that was pretty correctly handled.
I
so.
didn't understand the personal foul for the tackle. On the,
Yeah.
kind of a suplex maybe, but they're playing football.
I've seen a lot
hard-
worse.
I've
I've
seen-
seen a
I mean,
lot worse.
this is a
and
sport
it,
where
and
you
it
have to
wasn't
get
even
the guy on the
unnecessary
ground.
roughness. It was saying the
And-
play was blown
Yeah,
dead.
they didn't
and it was
blow it
not.
dead.
Yeah.
Because if he
That's
had
where I
scored it
thought
out of
it was
that,
bad.
nobody
Yeah.
would have said a word.
Right.
Exactly.
And they said it was
So-
after they called it a dead ball personal foul
So I guess
when it happened during the play.
yeah. So yeah, none of that made sense. So when you call it after the play, that doesn't make sense to me because one, it's clearly, unless I mistook it, the whistle wasn't being blown. So I guess what he's supposed to do is he picks the guy up in the air. He's supposed to gingerly set him back down,
Yeah.
or he's supposed to hold him in the air. I mean, what do you think he weighs?
Deuce
still?
One weighs probably at what, a buck 20?
Yeah.
No,
No, he probably weighs about
He's probably
180.
165.
165.
Well,
but
yeah.
he's small for
to
it.
that. But no. My point is to that DB. He's not that different. It's not like he's picking up a small
Yeah.
child.
Yeah.
So he's supposed to hold him in midair until the ref clearly blows the whistle and then set him down. No. So he's going to wiggle
Finish
free.
the play.
He's got to finish the play. He's got to tackle him. I mean, I think to me it was one that looked bad at first blush, and so they call it. But in honesty, it was just a football play, and it shouldn't have been
I
called.
mean, the whole point of the sport is to take the guy down that has the ball.
Right.
I mean, you're not allowed to spear. You're not allowed to use your helmet. and
Yeah,
all
I
that
don't
stuff.
think it
Totally
was
fine.
unnecessary.
But he literally just picked him up and
I think it looked kind
put
of
him on the
bad,
ground.
and he tried to do the body slam.
Well, and look how
But-
long it took him to throw the flag.
Yeah.
We just said it yesterday. It was a
Yeah.
fan flag.
Yeah.
The fans go crazy, and
Yeah.
the guy in the
End
back
zone.
judge
Yeah.
throws a flag
Well,
from the
he
end
was
zone.
well,
20 yards.
and
He's
if
not
you
even the
watch the
closest
replay,
referee.
no, he's up looking in the stands getting a coffee. He's ordering a
Yeah.
coffee.
No,
He's got a
that adds
donut
up.
in his hand.
That adds up.
And he turned and they
Appreciate
said,
it.
And,
Throw
a,
the flag.
and yeah, well, actually, a fan picked it up and threw it, and then he had to go and run and get it. And he came back to the fan to ask what exactly the call should be. No, it was otherwise, I thought the referees did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah, there's always
give them credit.
questionable holding calls that are not called usually for your team,
Right.
and we have a team that is pretty good at getting to the quarterback, and I'm pretty sure they didn't have a single holding call, and he held the ball for quite some time too. So
Yeah,
that's always kind of
that's
Yeah.
suspect. That's
suspect when there's not a single call.
Yeah, we had one sack yesterday.
For how many times?
Yeah.
He did drop back to throw it.
So let's talk about the pick review and see if there's anything else we need to circle back on these on the K-State game before we put it in the book. So, 27 to 20.
27-17 was what I had.
Oh, you had 27
I had
20.
27-20.
You were the closest.
38
So-
to 20.
And I was more optimistic at what did I say, 45? No, 45 to 17. So I think all of them were very possible. I think we should have scored even more points than we did as a result of just missed opportunities, especially when you're settling for, what was it, 4 field goals. Now one of them was really a settlement. You would have taken a touchdown there at the very end of the game. So I'm getting more optimistic about the offense's ability to put points on the board. We'll see what happens throughout the rest of the year. But as far as who the real realist was, Jay was the real realist of the day. Yeah. And then Lucas was just pessimistic.
We also need to talk about dropped interceptions.
Yeah, oh my God.
Why?
Yes.
Why can the guys not catch the ball? Mm-hmm. I think Jaden Davis dropped the second one. It was a little more of an athletic play, but the first one was it Pat Fields?
No, it was Key Lawrence.
Oh, Key Lawrence.
He actually did a really good job of,
On the first drive-
of being in center field, coming over the
yeah.
top, helping his
Right.
corner.
Right.
It just
He
should be a
got scared.
routine
Yeah, he got
interception.
Yeah.
scared because Billy Bowman was running underneath him in coverage.
Well, you just, I don't know.
And I'm pretty sure they scored
Catch the
points.
Ball. Yes,
on
they did.
both of
scored
those.
Yes, they did.
They
drops.
scored, I know they scored a touchdown on the first one, on the McCutcheon one.
Yeah, I think
How
both
did
of
Nick
them.
Benito not score on the fumble on the scoop?
Because he's slow as molasses.
What? I mean, it's like he got gassed.
He said he got gassed.
tripped up at the beginning. Like he picked the ball up and then he got
He
tripped up.
maintained his footing.
He didn't fall down, which was nice.
Yeah.
Because it was around the line of scrimmage or something when he
Yeah.
got tripped up, and then
I
he
was
had to,
worried he was gonna
had to
fumble.
gather his speed and get back up, and then the blocking downfield looked fine to me.
Maybe
You
he
had
was-
two
It was a
guys
good
down
hustle
there.
play by
Yeah.
some K-State
And then we did-
wide
Yeah,
receiver, though.
yeah.
that
The
tracked
Caleb
it all the way
Williams
down.
cost that the snap.
Yeah, so-
which Rain snapped it low and left. I
Yeah.
can't blame Caleb Williams for missing that snap because it was just a bad snap.
But so two things to I guess to defend Benito. He could have been gassed going into that play. He doesn't have his breath already,
Right.
and then
It's already a long drive, too.
it's a lot is
Yeah.
happening. So hey, hats off to picking it up, scooping, and nearly scoring. That was a huge deal.
Oh, we got 3 points off it.
And we got
We
3
stopped-
It was
points.
point-
We
it was
stopped
points
a
off for-
Is
probable
that the first time
touchdown.
this season we've stopped somebody from scoring on the first drive?
Truly,
Almost.
no, it West Carolina.
I mean,
But,
yeah,
anybody
obviously.
of magnitude, yes.
Did Nebraska score on the first drive? Yeah.
I believe
Yeah.
they did, yes.
West Virginia.
So-
Long drive.
Tulane.
Oh, yeah, that was painful.
So if we want to like support our personal narratives, I would pick you up on the Caleb Williams bad snap, loses whatever it was, 20 yards, 15 yards, and then all of a sudden we're settling for a field goal after a couple of bad plays here and there, offensive line problems, whatever, and we kick a field goal. Things work out better when, one, the offensive line is playing better and you have the right guys in at center, so maybe we can blame the coaches for that. It also even works better for Caleb Williams to catch that ball, even though I don't think it's his fault for missing it. But if he's played more than twice, 2 downs,
Yeah.
he might have a little more game experience. If you remember, Kyler Murray came in several times, almost tripped over his own feet several times, and he never looked very comfortable under center when he was filling in the same capacity for Baker.
Just a plug, yeah.
And so if the guy's got more experience, if Lincoln had him in there for, I don't know, 3 times in different games when it was a critical game, not a practice game like Western Carolina, the guy's confidence level might be a little bit higher, his comfort level, and he catches that ball.
and if he knows he's going to
puts
be
it
in there
the
for
end zone.
multiple plays or for an extended amount
Exactly.
of time.
He wasn't really afraid to use Chad Morris in situations last year.
Chandler Morris,
I mean,
yeah.
Chandler Morris.
Yeah. But he still didn't do it as much as he maybe even should have then. But
Right.
you're right, it's towards the end of the year where he gets comfortable with that. It's so funny, the stuff that he's so risk-averse on, and then the chances he will take in other situations. But
What do we think that play is if he actually catches that ball? Do we think it's a pass?
I think it's a Belldozer style.
I think it's a Belldozer.
Just a little pause,
Yeah,
run through the
pause
middle.
and look for the gap.
Just like the Tulane game, he just walks
and I
in
think
the
he
end zone.
walks into the end zone.
And
Yeah.
what's funny is I think most people don't mind him being in there for that situation. But at the same time, we're at the 1 or 2 yard line. We should be able to just do a standard handoff to Brooks, not Gray, and pound it in the
Because
end
it
zone.
was on first down too, right? Was it first and goal
I
from the
mean,
one?
I've been calling for that play all season after I saw it in Tulane, so I was completely fine with it.
I was completely
Yeah, I'm
fine
fine
with
with
it.
it. I'm just saying at the same time,
If I was
it's
the
interesting.
OC, I would have used that probably
Yeah.
7 or 8 times a season, especially in the middle
Yeah,
of
and
the
at
field.
that point,
fourth
you
and
got-
ones and stuff. I would have run that play 7 or
That
8
is a
times.
player situation too, right? That's where does go back. You have to execute as a player,
Yeah.
whether it be Rain making a good snap, Caleb keeping his eye on the ball, even if it is a bad snap.
Yeah.
You know, there's all the stuff
Yeah.
skill wise that
He
goes
came
into
in
it.
the second half, threw
Threw a
like a
right-
bubble screen,
little
18
drive.
yards.
Yeah.
So I would say
because the
one.
defense had to focus.
Yeah.
Because when he's in the game,
Right.
they
Oh, I
automatically
love
they
that,
probably
too.
practice.
Yes, absolutely.
That when he's in the game, he's going to run the ball is what I'm assuming
Or
Kansas
very
State
well could.
practiced. So
Yeah.
they had to commit more guys to
Yeah.
watching him.
Absolutely.
He snaps the ball, throws it immediately to the right. Wide receiver runs 18 yards.
Very dynamic. Again, supports our narrative that if you put him in a lot and show guys all the things that he can do,
Yeah.
they're going to have to respect it and they're going to have to practice for it, and that
Yep.
eats up their practice time for the opponent.
For sure.
Back to the same thing. If a guy is more comfortable, he's probably when that snap comes, he's probably looking at the defense more than he should be, or to a degree he can't adjust for that bad snap because he doesn't have the experience of just being comfortable of executing the play step by step. I think Jay's making a good point, though. When we're 5 games in the season, if we're going to be a competitor for a Big 12 title, a national title, you need to be in a position where you can just say, line up, we're going to run the ball, and almost tell them we're going to run the ball, and can you stop us? You got 3 downs to do it, 4 downs to do it. And, that didn't happen. We tried to run a sort of tricky play.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's transition to looking forward. So we have OU Texas coming up, the greatest rivalry
Who's
in
going to
all
that
of
game?
sports.
Who's going to that game?
I'm going to the game.
I'm going to go to the game.
Connor's going to the game.
Lucas, you going
Lucas,
to
you
the game?
going to the game?
I'm probably going to the game.
Lucas might. Jay?
Jay, you going to the game?
No, I will be watching it from TV.
Okay, well, we got 3 out of 4 here.
We don't miss games.
Yeah, well, yeah. Do you miss games?
I don't miss games.
Hold on, let me look. I don't miss games.
I don't miss
See, I was
games.
misrepresented on the last pod. It sounds as though I don't watch the games just because I'm not physically always at all the games. I have not missed a game in 20 years. So
Really?
just to put
Because
that
I didn't
out
see
there.
you there. But just,
Some could say I actually maybe see it better because I see more replays. I see, who knows?
we sacrificed that so that we're at the game for the
Right.
team.
Do they have the end zone view on TV? Oh, they don't.
Sometimes,
so you're not
sure.
seeing the game better.
Absolutely they do, yeah.
No, you probably do have a better view than Lucas. We will. I'll give you that one.
No chance.
But
So I've been going since this will be my 38th OU Texas game in a row, going back to 1984. So we go to the games. So you're going to go. You're going to sit
Probably.
in a good end zone seat. I just bought my tickets today.
Oh,
I
you
had
did?
sold the other tickets, made $1,700 for the 4, and I just bought 4 for just under $1,600. So I made a little profit, and I got to move to a better seat. I'm more towards the middle of the field, low
not the
upper
end zone?
deck.
That's
Not
a
the end
fail.
zone, getting out of that corner spot, and now be just 7 rows in front of this guy right here.
yep.
So
My seats will be on the tunnel on the OU side.
don't pour beer on Gary Gibbs when he walks through.
Yep. I don't think he'll be there.
So I'm pretty excited about it. It's always awesome. It's nerve-wracking. It's painful. It's scary.
It's gonna be a fun build up. It'll be a fun.
It's gonna be a real fun build.
It'll be a fun 6 days.
This is the first OU Texas since SEC. So we're gonna be chanting SEC together.
There will be some.
There'll be some kumbaya moments
brotherly
there.
love
Yeah.
from outside of the hatred that does exist.
I dislike this game. I don't know why.
I dislike Texas
It's
a
just
lot.
I hate Texas. I think
Everyone
it's just
hates
the
Texas.
stress.
Texas hates Texas.
It's the stress that makes me usually not go to the game.
It is a
We're gonna look over and
stress.
Lucas and be throwing up in a seat. Like, dude, are
Yeah.
you hungover? Like, no, I'm very, very anxious.
I just
No, it
I'm
is.
just
It's
so
tough.
anxious during
It's tough.
during this.
And it's funny as my emotions change. I get very businesslike when the game starts. Like I'm kind of a ridiculous, crazy lunatic, and I'm yelling at Texas fans, and I'm yelling at their god awful huge band and that awful pagan beast that they worship named Bevo. And then when the game starts, I'm just very businesslike. I want to see this game. Like if we get a score, I'm just like, can we just end the game? Can we just 7-0? We'd be done with this.
Kansas
Put it
State
in
this
the
year
books.
felt like Texas last year.
Yes, it did. It
Very,
did.
we
It
very
did.
much should have had the
Except-
game tied up, and
Except at the end, we were hugging and just elated at how that game ended in Texas.
That's
And
true.
this one, we were screaming at the top of our lungs like crazy.
God, can you
And
imagine last? Like, we were we were close to a third straight loss, being 1-3.
To the team that has our number.
If we
God.
don't,
Oh, you're
No,
talking
no,
about
if we don't
no,
beat
no.
Texas
year,
last
we don't
year.
beat
I thought you were talking
Texas.
about Kansas State.
Yeah, it's funny they didn't have our number.
I mean, they almost did.
I guess, yeah.
I'm always pessimistic this week, just in regards to I feel like Texas plays harder.
Have you seen the history? You're exactly right. Like how many times you can go back and in the last 20 years, I charted our entire history against Texas, and you see the big dips. And I think twice have been down in net 18 games to them. Right now we're down to a net 9. But if you go back and you say, give us the win when we on paper were a better team and should have won in the last 30 years, give them the win when they were, I think that gap is 0. I think we even it out. That we have given a lot of games to them we shouldn't have given. We were a better team throughout most of the 90s, when early 90s
Most of the 90s?
especially.
No.
Yeah, well, 90, 91, 92, 93, and 94. We won one of those.
96 we probably shouldn't have won.
95 we were better. 96 we shouldn't have. In 97 we didn't. In 98 we didn't. In 99 we should have.
Yes.
So yeah, most of the 90s.
Okay.
What I'm
and then-
hoping for is a lot of their toughness left with Ellinger. Because
Yeah.
as much as you disliked him or maybe didn't think he was a good
They
player,
were
he
tough.
was a very
Oh,
tough
yeah.
competitor.
I liked him,
and he put
but hated
he
him.
put them
Yeah.
on his back
Absolutely.
every time.
He made that rivalry very...
He was like Colt McCoy.
He made the rivalry very...
Yeah.
I mean...
I think Cole McCoy had a lot more talent around him than Ellinger's had around him.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean-
but as far as being the heartbeat, tough guy of the team,
Yeah.
and the guys can rally around him, Colt
Absolutely.
McCoy and Ellinger were pretty similar.
Yeah.
I mean, Ellinger won't know how to spell his name 20 years from now.
Right.
But
With
Because
all the
Tom
hits.
Herman just kept putting him in there every time he had a concussion.
I think, yeah, Tom Herman, piece of garbage. Yeah, you go back and you look at so many times under Stoops that we lost the game we shouldn't have lost. We won at one time when we probably shouldn't have, but a lot of games that we, anyway. So I feel your pessimism. It's a lot to worry about. I hate losing to Texas. Nothing like beating Texas.
it'll change. My mind will change about 10:58 or so on
Yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah,
Ready for the win. But
yeah.
We get
The-
game
the-
day there?
this
Game
whole
day will
week
be
I'll
there?
be-
You think you're predicting it?
No, they are.
Called it.
Yeah,
they called it.
They called it.
We were
For the
looking last
seventh
night.
time.
We were thinking they would be, and then yep, sure enough, awesome.
For the 7th time, they're going
That's
to be there.
awesome. That's an ABC game or Fox?
ABC.
ABC. Very
So
cool.
we'll be-
very, very cool.
Oh, what time is that game? Oh, it's 11, just like every other stupid year.
Garbage. Very frustrating. It'll be interesting to see what happens when we are in the SEC. Hopefully, we've moved that game to 2:30. I think that just makes a lot more sense, but it's going to take
Man,
a lot.
can you imagine having a little... Which
that's
I
their
guess it's not
primetime
CBS
kick, right?
anymore, but-
It's 2:30 for SEC.
Yep, that'll be their prime time.
And that'll be a primetime game year in and year out. Very
Prime
easily.
time is 2:30.
Yeah.
For SEC.
Yes, that's what that means. It's a relative term.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm pessimistic. I'm concerned, but I think we've got a good chance to match up really nicely against them and win. We'll talk about some specific predictions, but first just to say Texas has not shown a lot. Arkansas looked like a pretender yesterday against Georgia. They haven't looked that good. They haven't really beaten anybody. Texas hasn't done that much.
Texas had trouble yesterday.
Texas did have
Against
trouble
the-
yesterday against
Oh,
TCU.
They're
who's
arch-
Talk about
they're
the
arch
Gary
rivals.
Patterson,
Not very
huge
good.
bonehead move.
What did he do?
There was Texas had the ball in their own end zone area
On a third and long.
on a 3rd and long. They throw a pass. TCU guy makes a play, knocks the ball loose.
Makes a
from
hard
the guy.
hit.
Hard hit. Looks like it could be targeting when we watched it live. I was like, I hope they don't call that. Texas sends their
Oh,
punt,
yeah,
Texas
I saw
sends their
this.
punt team out there.
Yeah, I know what you're with.
Gary
Same.
Patterson looks like he's counting his players and realizes they're one short. He runs down, he sprints down the field.
Which is saying something.
Yeah,
because
which
he's
is
a
saying
heavy little
something.
Smurf.
Texas gets the punt off, but he calls timeout as simultaneous, so they go ahead and honor the timeout.
Mm-hmm.
During the timeout, they review the hit and say it's targeting, so they eject the player. Texas gets 15 yards from the previous spot instead of punting from about 6 yards deep in their end zone.
Down 10-7 at the time.
Down 10-7, they go right down the field in less than 2 minutes to score a touchdown, and that completely changed the momentum of the game.
complexion of the first half for sure.
That's something. His
It was
star
almost.
has
I mean,
faded,
it wasn't
isn't
as bad when Lincoln Riley called timeout and Drake
Yeah,
Stoops fielded
yeah,
the kickoff.
No.
It's just one of those things.
That would have iced the game.
Right, but it was if there was any question you thought that might have been targeting, which
You
I
sure
thought
as
was
heck
live.
don't
was
do
targeting.
it. Yeah, you
There's
don't
no,
call.
there's no.
You get that next play
you
going.
let the guy catch the punt,
Again,
call
risk
fair
return.
catch.
Risk return.
Even if no one touches the ball at all,
Yeah.
and the ball rolls down to the 2-yard line.
Yeah, but they're punting from inside the end zone. Chances are TCU gets the ball at the 50, and that was it was in the beginning of the second quarter or late first.
Hey, but you lose a player, you lose. That's a
and it completely changed
That's a bonehead
how
loss.
that game went.
Well, that's why we're not TCU fans.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know. Texas doesn't scare me, at least on paper, when I look at who they are and what they've got. They scare me when it's Texas, and that game is a rivalry game. They're going to get up for very strongly. They got a lot of different kind of things to play for. You got Coach Sark in his first year in that environment. You've got
It's funny
Casey
how-
Thompson and
yeah,
those emotions.
Those first 2 or 3 drives just set the entire tone of that game.
Yeah, for sure.
And that momentum is.
So I'm
a
hoping our
special type
defense
of
can come
momentum.
out and set some tone.
Yes. You guys want to kick or receive to start?
I'll
Start the game.
What do you want to do, Lucas? You won the toss.
Well, we've gone down at the beginning of almost every game this season, so let's just kick.
Have we received the ball yet to start a game? Yeah, we have.
Yeah, we have.
Against
and didn't score.
against Tulane. We threw an interception.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then
West Virginia got the ball first and ate up 9 minutes of clock.
Yep.
Nebraska got the ball first, ate up
Opposite, like
about
7
half
minutes.
the
did we
first quarter.
did we get the ball in Western Carolina?
I
Doesn't
don't.
matter.
That
that
doesn't
game
matter.
matter.
Yeah.
It's-
I don't remember though.
I think we got the ball, but
We have 4 wins against FBS opponents, decided by 21 total points.
we're an SEC team.
That's too close for comfort. In my
Yeah, it
book.
is. Sure, it is. Who could be comfortable
And I
with
will
that?
be cheesy. I will be the homer here.
Mm-hmm.
That those games, a lot of the time in the past, we would not have won.
Absolutely. I'll be the homer. I'll
Maybe
agree with
even
that homer.
and maybe
we need to
in
have
all
a.
in all 4 of those.
We
games.
need to have a little soundboard here. And we go every time we're a homer. No. But no, I agree. I think that is a difference maker. We have won some games we would have lost in the past, and definitely lost last year, and in many years recently. So I think that's probably speaks to defense. We won some games later in the year in each of the last 4 years that we won because of defense. As bad as the defense was, but
Yeah, inability to score in the second half
Yeah.
last year too.
yeah. Well, last few years,
Defense
remember the interception in the end zone against Iowa State was that a 2-point conversion? Mm-hmm. And then Oklahoma State and their implosions and our defensive stances and things. So we're seeing it earlier in the season. So there's a case for optimism.
Oh, yeah, that interception against Iowa State. I thought that guy caught that ball.
Yeah,
oh,
he was
I wanted
tight.
to cry.
He was tight.
Oh man.
But so. Any other thoughts on Texas going into it other than that's pretty darn exciting?
It's gonna be loud.
I don't feel good.
Gonna be
Yeah,
loud.
feel good. Go figure. Yeah.
That's probably good. I might be a little worried if you did feel good.
Oh
To be
yeah,
honest.
yeah. Honestly, somebody would
So-
have to check you into an institution.
Yeah.
Everything's out the window with that game, man. You toss.
Yeah.
All
It
these
might
past
be to our
games out the
benefit
window.
that we're not playing great because
Oh, I think so.
in past years when we've been
That
rolling
is a strange
and we
thing,
go into
yeah.
that game,
Yeah, you're right.
even when they're like, oh wait, we were so much better than them, it
No,
wasn't
I
even
know.
close.
Exactly.
And we still lose.
Exactly.
Baker's first year that we played that
2015.
game,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
2015. They beat us.
Yep.
We were obviously probably better than them. In a lot of ways.
Kyler Murray quite a bit
Yeah.
better. That squad defense was really bad. though.
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
defense was really bad.
But still, we were really
But from
good.
a overall, yeah.
We were
There's
good
been
enough,
plenty
and
of
they
years.
were really
We've
good.
been
And
way
yeah,
better.
offensively.
Well,
we
the
even
kiss
played
goodbye
poorly
we've
that game.
given 2 coaches, right? And almost 3 with Tom Herman last year. So Tom Herman's most likely on the way out. We almost lose to him. Charlie Strong. We
It's his
give
win.
him a win. Mac
Mac
Brown.
Brown
We
gets
gave
his
him a
win.
win. It just
Yeah.
gets back to the fact that we have given away a lot of games in that
So it
series.
might be to our benefit that we're
Yeah, look at-
struggling coming into this game.
I'll go back, and this is history, but this is also science. So it's 2 of your core
Least favorite
curriculum.
subjects.
Yeah, so you've got in 2000 we're playing poorly all the way up until the Texas game, and then that begins Red October and we dominate.
My
And what
first
else
OU
happened?
Texas game.
That's your first OU Texas game.
And I'm
so
sitting
you're,
in the
you're
same
coming
sec-
back, sitting in the same
Sitting
section.
in the same section.
And what else happened
long
that
as I
year?
go.
Did we beat Nebraska at home?
We did.
And did we beat Nebraska at home this year?
Yep.
So national championship
We
is
beat
in the
K-State
books.
on the road
Put it down.
that year.
If we were OSU, we'd already put the banners up, right?
Yeah.
We'd already be doing that.
Yeah, somebody put out the weird statistic of OU's never won a national championship in a season
They didn't beat.
without beating Texas,
Texas and-
Oklahoma State, and Nebraska.
Wow, that's a stat.
I mean, I guess it makes
Right,
sense,
obviously,
right? But
you know.
But what's meaningful is it's not Kansas, and
Right.
even though because we lost to Kansas and won a national title, but it's not Kansas State, or it's not. You're talking about 2 of the 3 of those teams are actual football teams throughout
Yeah.
history.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean to be derisive. Oklahoma State is not a very good football team throughout history. They would be surprised if you showed them the stats of just how poor they've been before the 80s for sure, and even through most of this period until Gundy. But yeah, Nebraska and Texas, and only one of those in your conference. Of course, you had a dedicated game; you always played them. But that's saying something that you had to get through those 2 to win it. We never, even though there were years where we played for the national title, having lost to Texas and didn't play Nebraska that season, we never, and we lost to Nebraska in years we probably were the best team in the country, or arguably like 78 and 77. No, we have to overcome those giants, and we did. Sadly, only one of those teams is a small giant today, and the other one is a faded, dead giant, and the other is, well, it's Oklahoma State.
yeah, never giant.
So what's your prediction? What's your prediction for the game? Now, this won't be your official prediction,
Right.
but give me your
no score.
you can give a score if you want to, or whatever you want to say.
Because we put out our scores on Twitter later in the week.
Okay, yeah, so let's wait on the score. Don't give me a score, just
Okay.
give me, are we going to win the game?
You're not gonna like my answer.
It's all right.
I never like your answers.
I think we lose in a close one.
Okay.
There's something about Texas first-year coaches. I think Charlie Strong beat us his first year. I think Herman beat us his first year.
Okay, yeah, that's
I
2.
don't know,
That's
Charlie-
2 of
I
them.
mean,
How
Charlie only get
many,
one
how many
win
coaches
against
have they?
us?
Yeah, I think
let's
that's
see.
right.
Mac
I
Brown
think
beat
you're
us.
right.
Mac Brown beat us his first year.
Yeah, but we weren't a football team at the time,
Okay.
so yeah.
I feel like
Lincoln,
that's
Riley,
3 in a
Lincoln
row.
Riley has never lost. in
Tell
his
me
fifth
about
year
Fred
against Texas.
Akers and
He's never what?
He's never lost in his 5th year against Texas. So
As a head coach.
Uh,
he lost
there's
as an
always
offensive
now.
coordinator.
I think didn't
Mac Brown's first year was 98.
no the OU player, their most famous coach.
Switzer.
Mac,
Oh, who are you talking about? Who
Mac-
you or Texas?
Daryl.
I know our coaches.
I was like, are you
yeah,
serious?
yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Royal.
Daryl Royal. So didn't he puke on the sidelines for beating Coach Wilkinson, and it wasn't his first year? I know he puked on the sidelines because he beat Coach Wilkinson. He didn't want to do that,
Yeah.
and
He didn't
I
want to
think
win
it
the
might-
game?
He did, but
Oh.
he didn't want to beat
His
the coach.
right.
And I think he did.
So Texas
in
has
his
a
first
history
year.
of first-year coaches beating
I don't know.
Oklahoma.
I'm just trying to throw you a bone for that stupid take. So you obviously don't think we cover the spread since we're favored.
Yeah, I would have gone with a pick 'em in this game.
See if it's updated anymore.
The spread last I saw was -3.
3.5. You keep not looking at the
Both
right
teams obviously have a bunch of pressure in this game. It's very different pressure, though. I feel like Texas always has, lately, kind of nothing to lose in this game.
Mm.
And OU plays a little tight.
Little tight,
and
yeah.
a little. We've got so much on the line and bigger
Mhm.
aspirations.
Yeah.
And Texas is just like, we've got to get this monkey off our back. We've got to beat OU. Try and salvage a season type thing lately. It's just a different pressure, and I think
No, these
it
last
makes
2
the
years
teams
we've
play
kind of
different.
sold out. We've kind of sold out the last couple of years, and I was telling Steve yesterday too. This is when you've seen our defense be our defense under Alex Grinch, in my opinion, in terms of pressure, in terms of just upfront domination. It's been going back to last year and the year before, being in that backfield as many times as we were, and I hope we were complaining yesterday about aggressiveness and just simplifying and getting to the quarterback.
How many points did Texas score in this game last year? Was
It was a
40?
Well, it was
lot,
4
two.
overtime.
It was a lot.
They only had
But I'm still. We're in the
14,
overtime. I mean,
17
we're-
points
Sorry, we're in the
going to the
backfield a
fourth.
lot. Yeah.
Right,
So I mean,
right.
I don't know. It's,
and their
and then
line's
you go
not
back
very
to
good.
mismanagement. Like to Steve's points earlier, you go back to mismanagement of clock. You go back to terrible play calling and just not a great strategic mindset
Having a
to
lead.
close out a game. Close out a game.
Well,
That's all we. That's all I want.
You talk about
Close out
playing
a damn
tight.
game.
How about kicking a field goal on the 4-yard line on the opening drive? And that's what we did last
Yeah.
year against Texas.
That's right.
After doing that against Iowa State. There's something to that. Plays too tight, and we got a lot to lose. That's a tough place to be. You need to get out of that mentality, or you'll cheat yourself out of a victory. So hopefully we can. So what's your prediction?
I think we cover.
Connor says we cover. Connor says we
We
win
cover. I'm
and we
excited.
cover.
I'm excited.
Jay?
Right now, I think we lose.
God, so much pessimism. So
That'll
sad.
change. I'll change my mind. But right now, I
Okay.
think we lose.
All right, well, I'm going to be a realist. I think we win by 2 touchdowns.
I say double digits as well, to be honest.
I think we come out and we make the next jump. We've made a jump this week, and we're going to make another jump. And
Did we make a jump this week?
absolutely,
I don't
we made
know
a
if-
jump
I mean, the
this week.
offense was a little better.
The
but,
offense was a lot better,
but the defense wasn't.
the defense
better.
is where the defense needs to be. They're getting better, and they're going to get some players back. But the defense is
We're
where they need
definitely
to be.
missing Woody Washington.
Yeah,
We're definitely missing
Jalen Redmond.
Redmond.
Definitely missing Danny Stutzman.
Delarian Turner-Yell.
Delaney
Yeah,
Turner-Yell.
You can say Stutzman. Hopefully Coe's okay.
Uh-huh.
The defense could be even better than it is right now. I don't know if those guys are back next week, though.
right.
Redmond is not back. I will say that.
I mean, not having Delarian Turner-Yell back puts certain players on the
Stutzman.
field too much.
Stutzman was rumored to be available yesterday and was not on the field. So I'm hoping that lends a good notion for Saturday, this coming Saturday. So and that's not. I don't know. We saw Stutzman dominate against West Carolina. He probably felt like he was playing in a high school game. So but I do hope. I mean, even if it's just adding some tempo and just some optimistic energy to that defense,
I think that's
It's
what
a
they
win.
like with him. I think he just deciphers what he's going to do and does
does
it.
it.
It might not be maybe the right thing, but he just does it and goes 110%.
Yeah.
And that has to,
He's decisive.
Yes.
Right.
and hopefully that,
I
makes
don't
other
know.
players see how hard somebody else is playing.
I don't know the significance of Delarian Turner-Yell. That was a hammy, right, against West Virginia, from what we heard. So
That's
that
what it
could
looked like.
that could be a week to 2 months for
Yeah,
all, I mean,
you
for
just
what a
never
hamstring
know,
could
and
be.
you're
So
never going to know from.
definitely
from this
hope we
group.
get him back, but
So one thing I like to look at to give you, it's kind of like back to my point about looking at other teams' complete passes against us versus our team complete passes, and we just take it for granted we should, whereas they complete passes and we take it for granted they shouldn't. They should never be open. You just kind of break down and look at where teams are from a dispassionate point of view. We are currently the 6th rated team in the nation, for what it's worth, and Texas is the 21st. You could argue that those are wrong. I'm sure to some degree there's at least a wide confidence interval around them. You could easily make the case that we're plus or minus 3 or 4 of that space at least. But my point is, do you really think that this 21st ranked team in the country is better than the 6th ranked team in the country? Are the polls that wrong? Are these two teams?
I don't know if that's
that
what the
far apart?
polls indicate. I mean, I don't know if that's.
Of course they do.
You think
Yeah.
no matter what the
No, there's a lot of
21
things
can't
that's-
beat 5
No,
or
no.
shouldn't beat number 5 or 6.
Should no. What I'm saying is that there should be a relatively tight correlation between your expected spread, that is the expected margin of victory, and the difference between your rankings. So as those get bigger, that should get bigger. And so I think we should be positive. We should expect to be favored by maybe even more if these rankings are anywhere close to right.
Yeah, but it's kind of the argument. You're basing preseason rankings off of returning
yeah,
players.
there's a lot of
expectations.
bias in these, no
so
doubt.
if you had just now, let's say if the first rankings came out now,
Right.
would it be a 6 versus 21 matchup?
No, I think it would be a gap. I think it might be a little bit tighter. I'm not sure. Where did Texas start this season before they got destroyed by Arkansas?
top 15.
They were top 15, I think. So they've moved around a lot. We know there's volatility in the rankings. I'm not saying the rankings are right, but I'm saying there's a gap, and I'm saying we're not wrong to be thinking that there should be a gap. And when you could look at another matchup on here and say, well, what would you expect to see happen? And so take an Iowa versus I don't know who looking for a team in the Big Ten that they're going to play.
Michigan State.
Michigan State at 11. You're probably thinking Iowa's better than Michigan State, even though they're both 5-0 right now based on these rankings for the little information we have. So I'm just saying we're not wrong to have confidence that we should actually be favored against them or think that we're going to beat them. obviously you got to play the game, and a lot of things can happen. But if you look at it from the standpoint of who do we think is actually the better team, if we weren't OU fans and we're looking at it, we're saying, yeah, OU's a pretty damn good team. They need to get some things together, but they're a pretty darn good team. I don't know. So I think we're obviously going to win by 2 touchdowns, maybe more, maybe even a whole lot more. You don't think so?
Sounds great.
You would take it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you'd rather be right than have OU win.
So the goal,
absolutely not.
Yeah, the goal this week is to get you to come down on Friday so we can continue to discuss this.
That's probably not going to happen.
You need to do that.
Probably going to drive.
We're going to have one hell of a party.
As long as I go to the game, I'll probably drive down Saturday morning.
See, you say you hate this game, and that's going to make you hate it even more.
You put yourself in such
What
a
makes me hate
difficult
it even more?
spot.
Driving down the morning of, going to the game and driving back.
I mean, I've done it.
I know, that's
times.
my point.
Yeah. It's like saying I'm going to stab myself in the eye.
I mean, it's a 3-hour drive.
Quit stabbing yourself in the eye. If there's no traffic, if there's no problem.
Well, there's more traffic on Friday afternoon than there is on Saturday morning.
That's why we're going Friday at noon. So.
Well, some of us have to work for a living.
Oh my God, that is such a
So
lame
leaving
excuse.
Friday at noon is not possible.
You got people that do that for you. You
I
got
wish.
Your host of employees.
Subcontract Jay.
Do something. Yeah, he's
I'm
not.
at work.
He's
He'll
not
be at
going.
work, too.
Oh
I'm the
my
only one
God.
actually working.
Yeah, exactly. He's working. What's your excuse?
Yeah.
Well, I think you should come down Friday. I think you're missing the boat on that one. So let's close it out, unless somebody has something else to offer, like more bad takes. Looking forward from where we are right now for the whole season, optimistic, pessimistic. Will you be a playoff team? Will they win the Big 12? I say at this point I'm going to go with they will win the Big 12. I'm giving that a greater than 50% chance, and maybe close to something like 70%. And I will say, or at least, I don't know, they'll be in the Big 12 championship 70%, 75% likely, with a pretty good shot at winning it. And I think they've got a pretty good shot at being a playoff team right now. But I do think they've got to go undefeated. I don't think there'll be any margin for error.
You don't think there'll be any margin of error, even with all the losses of the other teams?
Not with Cincinnati.
Not with so many teams, especially Cincinnati. Cincinnati's throwing a real wrinkle because they don't play anybody. It looks like they can lose. They could lose 2
Bama
more
and Georgia
games.
will more than likely play each other in
They're
the
both.
SEC championship.
I've penciled them in
So-
my
So you got a lot of ways that Bama and Georgia are already in.
Okay,
even
then you have Cincinnati.
and then you got Cincinnati.
And then who's your fourth?
Penn State, Iowa.
They put in a one-loss Penn State
Yeah.
who wins their conference over a one-loss Oklahoma who wins their conference, in my opinion.
Just a risk. Like I'd say, our probability of getting in with one loss is a lot lower than it has been. Or
There's a
would normally
stigma
be.
around putting OU in this playoff.
All of
already
that
as
changes
well.
for me if Cincinnati gets
That's been
beat.
earned.
I agree. I'm not saying it.
Yeah,
hasn't been
yeah,
earned, but
yeah,
I don't
but-
think it.
but
I
it
also
shouldn't
don't think it
matter.
should base. It
Yeah, it
should
shouldn't
not.
matter.
It
It
should be
shouldn't
year to
base
year.
a decision off.
Yeah, it
Right.
should be year to year. So what I'm saying is, right now with Cincinnati in the position they're in, they scare me a lot of making it where it's very difficult for a one-loss OU team to get in. Give me a couple of weeks of results. Oh, it changes completely. We
Right.
could have a 25% chance of getting
Gotcha.
in with one loss. Yeah.
I'm going to say we lose a game.
Now we're down to A game. He's
Probably
getting
Texas.
optimistic.
No, we know which one. Yeah, so it's Texas.
Wow.
As of
Well,
right now.
Iowa State looks horrible.
We
OSU looks
escape
horrible.
Texas, and
So-
he's penciled us in for the national
If we
title.
beat Texas, I'll probably say on that podcast, if we beat Texas, then I'm
Well, wait
more
till that
likely
one,
that
but-
we go to the playoffs. But
so you're thinking
I'm currently
no
we lose
playoff?
to Texas, we win the Big 12 championship, and we narrowly miss out on the playoffs. So we're fifth in the rankings.
Okay.
We're still the most talented team in the Big 12, so we're going to win the Big 12 championship. The playoffs, I'm not sure. I don't think we can compete in the playoffs, so I'm really actually indifferent. I'm not even sure if I even care.
So you're super pessimistic about that. That'd be your bad take of the day. We totally could compete in the playoff. Everyone wants to look at a pretty decisive victory by Alabama and Georgia this week as if they are just absolute world beaters on and I'm not saying you're actually necessarily doing this, but it is so there's so much randomness, so much noise, and so much week to week. Florida is not a great football team, and they nearly beat Alabama. We'll see. We will see. It'll be funny if and when they get beat by somebody they shouldn't get beat by. To hear what the take is and the narrative of people, I guess, making excuses for them.
I'm not even so much looking at what the other teams have as what our deficiencies are. And so regardless of who it is, we do not have a national championship winning offensive line, linebacker, secondary. It's just not there. I don't care who we play. If we play Georgia tomorrow, we would probably have 4 yards rushing for the game.
Turns out we are going to play Georgia tomorrow, so you're about to be proven wrong.
I really
So
do.
there's-
I think we'd have 4 yards.
I think you make a good point, but I think by the end of the year you'll be surprised by how much progress we've made because that happens every year. Every year, both our offense and defense have come along. Both, even in the years our defenses have been bad, the defense has been a lot better. Offenses have been started real strong
I
and
agree
ended
we'll
tremendous,
improve.
started okay and ended very good. So I think we'll
I think our
improve a lot.
mid-season-
I'm banking on us improving a lot, or we shouldn't be.
I
a
think our
playoff team.
mid-season form has been higher than where it's at now. So if we improve at the same rate that we've improved in the other seasons, our offensive line will go from poor to
Playable.
well.
Yeah, like a average.
Yeah, it's not going to go from poor
I'd agree.
to
I'd agree. I'd be shocked.
yes. It's
I'd
just
be
not,
shocked
the
if we
jump
say-
just isn't going to be that big.
If we say this is a top 10 or top 25 line at the end of the year. Top 25 maybe, top 10, I'd be shocked. Now, if you told me we're a top 10 defense as a unit, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I predict that for us. If you said we're a top 10 linebacker crew, no, I'd be so shocked. I'm right with you on that. Top 10 DBs, I'd be shocked by that. But I think you're right, but I think we'll improve. I don't know. Connor, what do you think? Playoff team?
Yeah.
Big 12 title?
Yeah,
Super Bowl?
possibly.
Possibly.
I think we'll win the Big 12. I'm cautious about this Texas game, but I want to get past it. And like I said yesterday, we are on a downhill after that until the Big 12 title game, which is always also fun and interesting. But all that considered, I think, like you said, I'm also banking on the fact that we will improve. And I think we saw a great step towards that yesterday. I think you'll continue to see that. I think Coach B is going to continue to try to get his guys together. As much as we hate the fact that's the way it's been, I think we have to accept the fact that
That's
it
the
is what it is.
trajectory we're always on.
So let's take that and run with it. And then playoff-wise, all those things considered, the improvements, I think we will compete in the playoff and potentially for a national title. And I will even go as far to say, we didn't talk about it much, but I think we'll see Spencer in New York by the end of the year. I don't know if he'll win it in New York. I think we'll see him there though. So looking back at that stat line yesterday, even with a not great offensive line, the kid played well.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that he went through the ringer last week, and I know he's had some stuff come out where it's like, well, it's not the best look.
Yeah.
But the kid can ball out, and if he can start actually playing to the top level intelligence that he's capable of and seeing his open receivers, making his reads through his progressions,
Yeah.
you're only going to see him get better. So
That's probably true. That's a good point. I think he's got a chance to get to New York. If you remember last year, after a really rocky start, he actually had a chance to get to New York last year in that weird year. Go back to what we saw when we were watching on the drive home, the ESPN halftime report, and they talk about OU. They only talked about,
One play.
showed one play,
Yeah.
and it's a good play for OU, and they show us winning. And that's all they talk about.
I would love
And
if we
so-
flew under the radar until about game 8.
We could be under the radar, and Spencer could be under the radar, but then they remember he's a Heisman candidate from the beginning of the season, and that could work to his benefit.
There was controversy with him in the
There was
beginning of the
controversy,
season. It
and
makes
he-
for a great storyline. Let's
Yeah.
go ahead and bring
it could
him.
happen. It could happen. Yeah. Could we lose a couple games? Absolutely. This team could lose.
They
This
could
team
use
could
30.
lose to every team on the schedule except for Kansas.
Except for Kansas.
And even then, they could lose to Kansas. I've seen that kind of crap happen before. But then again, we not only can win against everyone, we should expect to win each and every game at this point. We will legitimately be favored in every game unless something happens that is very unexpected with either one or both teams in a particular matchup. So I don't know. I'm pretty optimistic. 2-touchdown victory against Texas coming. Next pod will be after the Texas game.
Beat Texas, baby.
Beat Texas.
Are we? Yeah. So what we can talk about? Yeah, beat Texas. Beat Texas.
Everything that in this university is focused on one goal. Will help us beat Texas. Barry Switzer. So until next
This
time.
podcast is doing that. So
That's right. We're helping to beat Texas.
Boomer Sooner.
Boomer
Boomer
Sooner.
Sooner.
Sooner.